In this episode of Ask Me Anything, I got a great question from Elizabeth in North Carolina. The question was, I hurt my shoulder a few months back trying to push myself too hard in a difficult yoga pose. I went to my primary doctor and they had no clue what was going on and prescribed some oral steroids, which helped the pain feel better. But as soon as I started using it, the pain came right back. I was then sent to physical therapy and diagnosed with a rotator cuff tear and bursitis and did a bunch of exercises that just made it feel worse. Last week, I went back to my primary care doctor and they ordered an X-ray that came back clean with no structural damage to the shoulder or tears. I asked my doctor if I should get an MRI to just be sure, and they said there was no need because the X-ray was clean and the insurance company wouldn't approve it anyway. But I still have pain and it doesn't feel right. Plus, I am only 36 years old and worried this will just get worse. My question is, should I still get an MRI done and how do I push to get it approved? In this episode, I do my best to break down what is going on here, give a different perspective, and help anyone in this similar situation to get better equipped with knowledge so they don't get jerked around by the medical system. I hope you learned something new and enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Injuries Explained project, where we are on a hell of a mission to make chronic injuries obsolete by helping anyone that is injured and in pain get properly educated and informed on all their treatment options so they can stay the hell away from pain pills, injections, or surgeries, which only make things worse. My name is Dr. Matt Maggio. I am a soft tissue injury specialist with a focus on neck, shoulder, and sciatica injuries. I am an expert at diagnosing and treating scar tissue and reducing inflammation from chronic injuries without the use of drugs, injections, or surgeries, which only make things worse. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out the show. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. All of the information presented in this episode is strictly my opinion and in no way, shape, or form should ever be misinterpreted as concrete medical advice or treatment recommendations. If you're currently injured and in pain, please reach out to a qualified medical practitioner for a full diagnosis. If you've already done that, you're frustrated as hell, you just want to know what's going on and get some answers about your injury, you can reach out to us directly and request an injury consultation. All of the information to do that is available in the show notes or wherever you might be consuming this information. Now that we got the boring stuff out of the way, let's get right into the show. So these AMA episodes, better known as Ask Me Anything, are becoming my most popular segment, and I get so many of you that are reaching out asking questions. So I think a lot of the episodes going forward is going to be strictly this format. And if you do have questions, all the information to reach out to ask that you want us to cover is in the show notes. Just reach out and we'll try our best to add it to our queue and answer the best that we can. We are working behind the scenes here, probably the next couple of weeks, to be able to get this podcast available on video form. So you'll be able to get that on Spotify or YouTube as well. That'll really help us show more information, draw some pictures, show some diagrams and things like that, really give it a more immersive type of feel. But if you do have any of those questions for AMA, please feel free to reach out. But this was a great question from Elizabeth. And unfortunately, I hear these questions way more than I should. The medical system just sucks. It's not designed to actually solve any problems, because if they solve problems, there ain't no money in it for anybody. And it's just trying to figure out how much they can bill the insurance company for. Then the insurance company's like, how much are we not going to pay? It's just back and forth stuff. And the people that end up getting screwed over the most are you, the patient, and the consumer, and the person that pays for their insurance and pays the doctors to do it. And you're the ones getting screwed over and not getting anything. That's why I created this project, just to help educate you better. So let's break all of this down. Number one, why the primary care doctors suck for any type of injury. They get barely any training in musculoskeletal injuries in school. I think it's like maybe 20 or 30 hours total. They're dealing with so much other shit. They're dealing with people with like depression, diabetes, people being sick, all that. They don't have any of the skills to actually be able to figure out what an injury is. They're basically just glorified gatekeepers. Their job is to decide, do you need to go to physical therapy? Do you need to go get imaging done? Do you need to go see an ortho? And the problem is, a lot of them have some big egos, and they think just because they're a doctor and they went to school and got a medical degree that they know everything about everything, and they don't. They're really kind of more like generalist people. That's what primary care doctors are. They know a little bit about everything, but they're not an expert in anything. And one of the things they're definitely not an expert in is injuries. They don't know what the hell to do with them. And the worst are when the ones kind of overstep their boundaries and start telling you what's wrong when they don't have a goddamn clue about what's going on. Next problem, why did it feel better doing the steroids? Basically what happened was it got rid of the inflammation but didn't get rid of the cause of that. So inflammation and bursitis and swelling, really all that is just telling us that something is going on. The inflammation is what I call the effect, but it's not the cause. So what happens is they wipe out all the inflammation, but that problem is still there. And as soon as Elizabeth got back into it, shoulder started hurting again because it didn't fix any of the tissue. I always say the inflammation is the pain letting you know something's wrong. It's like your check engine light that came on. When you take these anti-inflammatories, you get these injections, you do these magical things that get rid of all the inflammation, but you don't fix anything. It's like you just disconnected your check engine light, but kept driving your car and then it blew up and you're like, why the hell did this happen? It happened because you didn't fix anything. So number 3, why is physical therapy flaring this up? Because it doesn't need exercises. It's not healthy tissue. The tissue needs to be healthy. Basically what's going on there, and I covered this way in depth on episode 2. It's a good one to go listen to. There's a lot of scar tissue formation that builds up. That's what I talk about. That's what I'm an expert at finding and fixing. And I'd say 99% of musculoskeletal injuries that have pain, weakness, and decreased flexibility are caused by some form of scar tissue in there. It's not healthy. The idea, the pain is in there. It's kind of like you have a cavity that's really flared up, and then doing the physical therapies like brushing and flossing, it's past that. So go back and re-listen to that episode if you haven't and understand why PT is actually making it worse. Number 4, why the X-ray is a horrible diagnostic tool. You can't see anything. It shows you bone and some space. It doesn't tell us jack shit about what's going on. But the problem is it's cheap. It's easy to do, so they prescribe that first. The problem is they always want to start with the very basic and the cheap thing. The thing that they don't tell you about as well is there's radiation associated with getting an X-ray. You're actually pumping yourself full of some radiation. They might give you that little whatever, that protective shield, you get when you go to the dentist. It ain't protecting you from anything. That's why those people run the hell out of there when they push the button, because they don't want to get exposed to it. But it doesn't tell us anything. But the problem is so many doctors make inferences about what's going on there. And they said this, they're like, well, it's clean. Your tendon's clean. Your muscles are clean. There's no tears in there. So everything is fine. I don't know what magic X-ray machine exists out there that can magically see muscles and tears, because there's none that exist in there. And that's the problem that we run into. Sorry about that beep in there. My fire alarm is going off. Next thing, why an MRI is actually better and safer. It shows us everything that we need to see. It's going to show us the soft tissue. It's going to show us the joint. It's going to show us the cartilage. It's going to show us the tendon. And here's the thing. It's all magnets, so there's no radiation involved. An MRI is way better. I never order X-rays in my clinic because it doesn't tell us anything. And if you're going to a doctor that orders that and doesn't actually get to the root cause of what's going on, that's why you're not any better. And they make bullshit inferences about what's going on. And this is what is happening exactly in this case as well. Last one, how to get it approved or push for it to get approved. Honestly, it's not going to work. They're just going to say they want you to go through all these hoops, and you're way better off doing what I call self-pay. You can call around to a lot of places. There's a lot of these imaging centers are out there. And if you have a script from your doctor itself, you can call around and get an MRI done without going through the insurance. Then you don't have to mess around with all the stuff like PT and the orthos and going through all that. A lot of times they're like, oh, well, we'll approve an MRI after you do 6 weeks of PT, you do injections, you do all that. And it's like, well, how the hell do we know if the problem is even what can be fixed with PT or stuff like that? And you're going to be out of your time. You're going to still have your problem, and it's probably going to make it a lot worse. So a lot of times you're just better off going out of pocket and paying for it for yourself, because you're going to get better. You're going to get the answer quicker, and you're going to get moved up instead of having to go through all the hoops and all that. I get it. I understand you have your insurance. You want to use it. You pay a lot. But the problem is insurance doesn't really care. It's just kind of trying to frustrate you so you don't actually use it. And then you get more and more frustrated. But you're the person that gets screwed over the most, because at the end of the day, you still have your problem and it's not any better. So one action step from all this, and I talk about this all the time, is be proactive in your health. Don't just simply rely on the medical system and the insurance company to solve the problem. I covered that way in depth on episode 15. So if you like the show and it can help someone else, share it with somebody else. I guess you can give me a review if you want, and give us some feedback about what's going on. Any questions that you might have for Ask Me Anything, send them our way. Lastly, reach out for a consultation if you're getting tired of getting jerked around by the system and you want real answers. All the information to submit for the Ask Me Anything is in the show notes or wherever you might be consuming all this information. I appreciate you guys listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.